I'm looking for something that President Trump supports, and he's not yet indicated what measure he's willing to sign. As soon as we figure out what he is for, then I would be convinced that we were not just spinning our wheels.
Joining us now on a Fox News at Night exclusive, the White House Senior Advisor for Strategic Communications, Mercedes Schlapp. Great to have you with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Does that soundbite surprise you at all? Because the White House has been clear on some things, but apparently some of the senators aren't. They don't get the whole program.
Well, clearly the president has been very clear on what he expects from a DACA deal and a border security deal. It contains four of his most important priorities. That is, which is dealing with the DACA situation, with securing the border, ending chain migration, and ending the diversity visa lottery system. So this is something that the president talked about last Tuesday in the meeting where he was with both members of the House and the Senate, both Democrats and Republicans. He asked them to come up with a bicameral, bipartisan framework on a DACA deal. And this is the responsibility of Congress to ensure that they produce a product, something that the president can support. It's something that we haven't seen yet, especially not when Senator Graham and Senator Durbin came to the White House. It was a very weak proposal, and the president has for months laid out his immigration priorities and what we need to do to end illegal immigration and ensure that we don't recreate a second DACA in the United States.
I want to talk about what we're seeing so far in the House proposal. This is the Goodlatte Labrador proposal versus that Senate proposal, and we're talking about the Graham-Durbin. In the House, this is what we have on the table. They say some kind of temporary renewable legal status for DACA, $30 billion for a wall, ending chain migration and the visa lottery, mandating the use of E-Verify by employers, and that the DOJ would be allowed to withhold money, certain monies from sanctuary jurisdictions. So, okay, that sounds pretty tough and what a lot of conservatives would like to see. Now, over on the Senate side, what we had was a 10 to 12-year path to citizenship for DACA, changing, not abolishing the visa lottery. Same thing with the chain migration, changing it, but not completely getting rid of it, and multi-pronged border security, not just a wall. How in the world do those two sides get together?
Well, that's going to be a big challenge, but this is what the president has proposed for these, both the House and the Senate, to find a solution on the DACA deal. Obviously, we can find the common ground when you're talking about border security, for instance. I mean, it's very clear that DHS has told the president, has talked to Congress about the need of ensuring that we have a wall that is built. Obviously, what we see in the Senate proposals, they're not even proposing enough money. It's like 1/10 of the funding that we actually need to secure the wall. And then the other part of this is when you look at the Senate proposal, it actually increases illegal immigration. It doesn't end the diversity visa lottery. And so what happens is that it does lead to increased illegal immigration. Why do we want to be in that particular situation? It makes no sense.
Is that why the president got so mad last week?
Oh,
because from what I've heard, he did not take this seriously, and he was not happy about what they brought to him. Although General Kelly says earlier in the day the president had gotten a call. He said, "Ooh, it sounds like something good is coming in the Senate." The general was a little skeptical about how quickly this came together because things don't happen that quickly on the Hill. He went and talked to people on the Hill and had some others who were really concerned about what they heard was in this. So he brings everybody together for a meeting, and then the president's upset.
Well, this Durbin Graham bill or proposal has been in the works for quite some time, and so the president wants to solve this DACA situation in good faith and has asked Congress to come up with a solution that he would support. But it has to include his priorities. And so, yes, he was frustrated when Senator Durbin and Senator Graham came on over and said, we have the solution. Well, when he read the proposal, it obviously did not fit what he was expecting in terms of his immigration priorities. I mean, we have a serious situation where we need to ensure that we have to stop where DHS has the authority to be able to expedite the removal of illegals coming in through the border, where we have our ICE agents, where they are empowered in order so that they are able to remove criminal aliens and to basically have authority over them. This is a situation where we have lacked control in our immigration system for decades. I mean, I've been working on this issue since the days of George W. Bush. We have not been able to resolve this, and right now is a time, and under President Trump's leadership, he's willing to make a deal, but they need to come with the right deal, which will include not creating a second wave of DACA recipients coming in, but surely being able to control the illegal immigration issue and also allow for responsible immigration reform. We want immigrants to come to our country, but we want a merit-based system where it's bringing the best and the brightest to America that would actually be part of contributing to our economy and to our society.
Okay, so we all know this is not happening by Friday. Now, you have a number of Democrats and even some Republicans who say they're not going to vote for another short-term funding deal for many different reasons. And some of them are saying it's because if they don't get DACA and some kind of guarantee about that, they're not. Well, we run out of money midnight Friday night. We know the government essential operations continue going, but there's always this PR battle over, what happens with the government shutdown. Former Representative Steve Israel, a Democrat who led a lot of the re-election efforts in the House, had this to say yesterday. He said Republicans cannot afford to shut down the government in one of the roughest midterm environments they've ever had. Democrats have the upper hand, and they should play the upper hand. So who wins or loses if the government shuts down Friday?
Well, I definitely think the Democrats lose if the government shuts down. They are holding the funding for the troops hostage, funding for our national security hostage. They are playing politics over our country. The president has made it very clear that he does not want the government to shut down. Many of Republicans are out there also saying that they don't want the government to shut down.
But
we need a solution.
When he said we need a good shutdown, sometimes that needs to happen. And they're going to say that Republicans control the White House and both houses of Congress. You know how.
Yeah, but you need 60 votes to pass the budget,
Do you think
right?
Americans get
in
that?
the Senate. Well, this is why it's important to talk about this, because you need Democrats to vote with Republicans in order for the budget to pass. And so, in essence, in order for this continuing resolution to pass, or the short-term spending bill, they need the Democrats. And so, it's very clear that if the Democrats are going to play this game, I think that they're going to be impacted to the very end, because there are so many Republicans out there, including the president, saying we do not want to shut down the government. We need to ensure that we get a DACA deal. And at the same time, the president, we submitted our budget months ago, and yet Congress has not acted in terms of passing a budget. And you know what happens, Shannon? At the end, it impacts the readiness of our military. And as Secretary Mattis has done, he's met with Republicans and Democrats, and he has said very clearly that to plan long term in terms of our military and our action, we need to have a budget in place. And that is why it's important and imperative that Congress works to get this budget done.
We got to go, but I got to ask you, how much fun did the president have putting together the fake news awards?
Oh, I think for the president, he wanted to highlight the errors that some of these media outlets have committed, and I think it was one of these moments that I think it just shows that some of these media outlets are out there to attack the president, and I think the president really enjoyed being out there talking about the fake news. It's gotten a lot of coverage, especially on social media.
And we're going to talk a lot more about it coming up in the show as well. Mercedes, always great to see you. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me.